when Brian Kelly first got here, look, in LSU at the time, it obviously wasn't going well, and we all know how many players you had, and look, it was going to be an uphill battle for sure, whatever. But we had been so used to a lot of the same people being around the program, and some people might look at that and be like, yeah, well, when you bring somebody new in, he needs to bring in his people, and you need to bring in some of your people for sure, for sure. But there was like everybody had to go mentality, and even if you go back and listen to the shows that I don't even know what show I was doing. I guess it would have been OTB at the time. It's like that didn't make total sense to me and T-Bob. Okay, you got rid of Corey Raymond. And you got rid of Blake Baker, who was there. And look, I'm friends with Blake, like close with Blake. I don't mind saying that. You could probably guess that. And Blake wanted to be here so bad. And like his wife played soccer here. Like LSU means something. Louisiana means something to him. And he was, the linebacker coach. And like you didn't retain Blake Baker. And so he goes to Missouri, becomes a rising star. And then you had to go crawling back and hire Blake back. And Blake wanted to be here. We know Corey wanted to be here. You had to do the same thing. You had to try to right the wrong that you didn't do from the very beginning. Like those are a couple people, but it's not just coaches. I mean, it was people within inside the building that have been there for forever, that have been through 3 national championships. You think that happens by chance? Or you think those people knew what they were doing? And those people were a fabric of the team and the school and everything that it meant. It's kind of going back to the same conversation. Like those people in the building would have jumped on a grenade for LSU. And they're not football coaches, but I'm just talking about people around the building. I'm talking about from every job that you can imagine. Director of ops, director of recruiting, head coach, secretary, like whatever, anything, dietitian, like whatever it would have been, strength coach, whatever it would have been, like those people would have jumped on a grenade for LSU. And they've been through 3 national championships with 3 different coaches. And it was like we got to get rid of everybody. And then you found yourself having to go back to multiple people that we're talking about there because you're like, oh, well, actually they did do things the right way. They did have a deep desire for this program and this place, and they'd given their entire adult life to LSU in those 3 letters. And like you have to have those people in the building. Again, you want to bring in your own people. I get that. I understand that. It's got to be a mixture of both, but it was overcorrection to say the least, like from the very get-go.
All right. Everything you're saying, 100% accurate. I want to talk about that from a former player perspective. Since Kelly's tenure began, and look, there's a lot of things that we've known and heard for years, right? Now, being LSU fans, we're optimistic. We hope things turn around. We hope there's success. But when there's not, these kind of things start to come to light. From a former player perspective, for the majority of people that I talked to, that I played with, that we sweat with, we bled with, we fought with, and the people that came before us and the people that came after us, there was always kind of a feeling that, whether it's true or not, that they were a little unwelcome in the facility at football ops. Now, you could go. It was just there was a lot of different steps to have to go. Unless you were like a former superstar person that you could kind of have the access. But the access was kind of taken away. From your former players.
And I'm going to let you speak on this more than me because
I'm
doing the calls.
I just hear it from the people from everybody that we played with.
Yeah.
That's not like the superstars, right? It's like they never felt really welcome. Like before this, but when Coach Miles was here, Coach Ogeron, they welcomed players to come back and work out in the facility. They had lockers. everything was welcome. They would always ask for former players to come back and speak to the team, be around the team.
Yeah.
So I think people felt isolated, and they didn't like that about this regime. Now, no one, complained that much because we were hopeful that, whatever, new coach wants to do his own thing, doesn't want a ton of the former players back or around, fine. But you better win.
Yeah.
And in this day and age where you have this NIL culture of you're paying players to come in, they might not have, like, in their heart of hearts, they might not bleed purple and gold, but they're there to play the sport as best they can. And you want to develop culture with a bunch of every single year. You got all this turnover. You're going to have more turnover next year. All these turnover, new guys, people coming from different colleges all over the country that have, signed somewhere else out of high school.
Yeah.
And they've transferred twice, and now they're at LSU because they're getting paid, and they got to play well. In this world, I would think it'd be paramount, absolutely paramount, to have your former players that were here, that care, that will die for this program, that will absolutely do anything they can for that eye in the middle of the field. I would think you would want them around, creating that culture, setting it all the time for these people that have transferred in because of money to come play football. And that's what I'm glad guys are getting paid. I love it. It's great. I would think you would want that culture to be set by people that have been there, and not just from the top guys, the guys that have, won the Heisman or All-Americans,
right?
But from the guys that grinded, the guys that were position players, that were role players, guys that fought and scrapped and had to earn a scholarship in their second or third year because they just loved LSU so much. And that was, whether right or wrong, whether this is correct or not, whether they meant to or not, it was taken away from a lot of that. And it started, and when you want to isolate your former players a little bit more to what you were talking about, it started with, as soon as Brian Kelly got here, it's like when you get sent to prison and you send a message about picking the biggest guy in the yard to fight. He went there and fired a man that every former player loved. Tommy Moffitt was beloved by every single former player, and you went and you did him wrong and you fired him. And I don't know if you meant it or what, but the man had to pack up a cardboard box, and the optics of it were terrible.
Yeah.
Had to pack a box, load his car in the rain. And if you want to get rid of him, fine. That is your prerogative. You are welcome to bring in your own people. There's a way to do things. Not everybody is the same. And you isolated, I want to say, the majority of your former players. It got started on a rocky road and a rough foot. Like, that is not how you endear yourself, especially in this NIL world, when you got to have those guys around. And you went and picked the biggest guy in the yard, and you fired him. And guess what? He packed his bags, and he reloaded his car in the rain, and he just came and beat your ass in the rain.
Twice, last 2 years in the second half. And that's after he was told that he's going to be retained. And then got the rug pulled from out.
There's a right way and wrong way. And, my God, if you pick the wrong person to do wrong, you make enemies.
And last point before we take a break, we're going to try to stay on clock as much as we can. It's not going to be easy.
Every 2 minutes past.
I remember somebody from, and I don't know who it is. They're not here anymore. And there's a lot of people in and out from here and there, from Notre Dame, whatever. I remember somebody telling me, because I asked that question, because there was a story of Ethan Postic was in the weight room, and Ethan's still playing in the NFL, by the way, and he was like back working out in the weight room, and almost like was asked, like, what are you doing in here? He's like, I'm working out. Like, I played for LSU. Like, I'm in the NFL. Like, we always do this. And so, like, that's where it started. And I'm like, hey, like, why is that happening? Like, why is that going on? Because, like, we used to have lockers in here.
Yeah.
Where we worked out, and like they would keep, like, if we were in the NFL, we had a locker, we had a loop, we had like, and they embrace it. And they said, well, being in South Bend, Indiana, like nobody's from there. And so like nobody lives there and nobody moves back there. And so like it's never really been a thing. And so it's overwhelming for all the people that still live around the program and are still wanting to be in the building. Like, we just haven't ever really had to deal with that.
Yep.
And so we're trying to navigate how to deal with that. That was the answer that I got when I asked the question, because it made me angry, because I'm like, Ethan's not from here. Ethan came here. Ethan was a great player here. Ethan's still a great player, still playing in the NFL. And that was the answer that I got, was it was overwhelming because nobody moved back to South Bend and tried to come back to the facility at Notre Dame. And so they didn't know how to handle all of us still living here and wanting to be around the program.
And they didn't handle it.
Nope.
They did not. So, yeah, you isolate the former players and you lose a pretty big, what could have been a good support group for
And
you.
I also think it means something that we do move back here. I'm not from here. I'm from Shreveport. I'm from Louisiana. I'm not from Baton Rouge. Matt's not from here. He's from Texas. Dick Dixon's not from here. He's from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I mean, we could go on and on of the people that aren't from Baton Rouge, aren't from South Louisiana. But where do we find our way back to? Baton Rouge and South Louisiana, because we love
we were just
this
a fit.
place.
We were a fit.
We were a fit.